When I came in as a freshman in high school, I went from a guy who never ran track in his life to a state finalist. I went from somebody who was literally the last person recruited to the Minnesota team in that recruiting class to the best person in that recruiting class. I went from being in my life now to somebody who I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life to somebody who like runs their own business and makes money freelancing and have a job that I absolutely love. I just knew it's gonna take time, but every year I will get better.
Mitch Hechsel, thank you so much for joining me on D1on1.
Absolutely.
To give you a little bit of context of what this is and what we're trying to do, this is a platform that we're building to try to unify the voice of all college athletes. I know you ran at the University of Minnesota as a track and field athlete in the 800. Could you give us a brief overview of a little introduction to who you are, what you do, and what your story is?
So just like an elevator pitch of my life.
Yeah. 2 minutes and 30 seconds.
2 minutes and 30 seconds. I kind of stumbled into track and field because I hated baseball, and I just told my parents I wanted to quit baseball. They're like, you have to do a sport or get a job. And I said, as a high school student, there's no way I'm getting a job right now. So I joined track and field because all my friends were in it, and it kind of just took off for me.
Yeah.
I loved my coaches, absolutely loved my coaches, and they gave me everything in that sport, and that's why I'm here today.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of just took off. I was a natural at it and got recruited by University of Minnesota. Went in there kind of as a underdog recruit and ended up being a Big Ten champion at AllAmerican.
Wow.
In the 800 meters it was.
What's your PR?
147.2.
I've never even run sub 2, dog.
You can though. You can.
I mean, we'll see. We'll see. We gotta set up a race.
Yeah. Went with that. Was 2-time All-American, and then
two. Let's get it right. Okay.
And then graduated. I got some offers to run professionally, but it was nothing. I didn't feel like I truly could give the sport my all anymore. I thought I gave it all every 5 years that I was in college, and just didn't think the offers that I had was enough to keep me going. I didn't want to do it for the money. I really wanted to sit down and do it because I truly, truly loved the sport, and it didn't sit right with me. And I actually stumbled into my next passion in life, which was videography. And I really started freelancing and stuff on my own. And I found out that was truly like my passion and what I wanted to do. And I kept doing freelance. And then somebody found me on my website one day and offered me a full-time job being a videographer.
Wow. And when was that?
It was about a year ago that they found me off my website. And then it took like 4 or 5 months to actually become the position in the like full-time role. I was freelancing with them for a while though.
Yeah. So what year did you graduate from Minnesota?
2017.
2017.
Yeah, I did 5 years.
So it's been 3 years.
Yeah.
Go from that's a crazy transition too, especially in such a unique industry and realm. I know you're self-taught in that too. But before we get into any of the videography stuff, how did you get into running?
Running, kind of how I said before in the little pitch that.
So I know baseball.
Yeah.
Sorry, how did you get into baseball? Where did sports
my dad's a
begin
huge baseball fan. Yeah, he's played softball like literally since I was born. He's been on a softball team, so he's always loved baseball. I actually played up on my brother's team for baseball, so I always played upper grade, and then I played basketball and football my entire life. I was a sports fanatic and still am. Mm-hmm. It was kind of like my only identity in life really was being really good at sports.
Really?
Yeah. That's what everybody knew me as. If you ask somebody, hey, describe Mitch, they would say he's athletic. And that kind of became who I was, and I loved it. Mm-hmm. And then my dad said, he's like, hey, you're going to get a job or you're going to pick a new sport.
Like, well, I'm definitely not getting a job.
Yeah, I was like, there's no way I'm getting a job. So I chose track because I knew the coach, and I had friends that were going off the track team.
So what year was that?
My freshman year of high school.
Freshman year of high school.
Yeah.
Did you start 800 right off the bat?
No. Crazy story. I was actually a 110-meter hurdler.
110-meter hurdler.
They forced me into it.
So
I swear.
How did you transition into the 800?
I hated hurdles. Dude, I tried so hard. I was like, all right, I'm going to try hurdles. And I'm like very like inflexible.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to be flexible around hurdles. And I just like could not get the form down for my life. And it was just driving me nuts. And I knew in the back of my mind that this wasn't my best event. I was good. I probably could have been all conference, scored points for my team, but I knew like that wasn't my peak. I saw other people running other stuff and I would crush them in practice. And I'd be like, why am I not running this? I'm literally beating like the best other people in this event and I'm running hurdles. So I just said like, hey, give me a shot at the 800. And my coach put me in the 4x8. I ran the best time.
When was that?
That was my, like literally the very end of my sophomore year.
Wow.
So for 2 whole years I ran hurdles and the kind of the 4x4.
So was the fact that you weren't reaching what you perceived to be your potential in it, that turned you away from it?
In hurdles? Yeah. Well,
I kind of hear that in baseball too, though.
Yeah. I knew something inside of me that the coaches didn't know. Like I had this burning passion, like the 800, that is my thing. I know it. Like I absolutely know it. Just give me a chance.
Why was
it took
that?
them over 1.5 years to give me a chance.
How did you know?
There's just, there's just like something in me that's just like videography. It's just like, we'll get to that later, but it just called me. I just like kept seeing people run it and I'm like, I know this is my race. Like I should be running that right now. And it just took me a while to kind of build up the courage to put my foot down and be like, I'm going to run the race now. Whether you like it or not, like you got to put me in this and give me at least one chance.
So how did you end up at the University of Minnesota?
The distance coach at my high school knew Steve Placentia, who was the head coach, and he put in a good word for me. And like, I wasn't running crazy times in high school. Like I was running 157, 156s. So like I wasn't like we got to have this guy type of recruit.
Not the kind of recruit
yeah
coaches would reach out to.
Absolutely not.
But maybe the kind of recruit that if you emailed the coach, you could convince them to give you a walk-on spot.
Yeah. And here's the thing about that is
even that's a stretch though with a 157.
Yeah. 157 is not like that great, but I was so invested in football and basketball. Like basketball was my entire life.
Really?
Like basketball was my thing until my senior year of high school. Like it was basketball.
Wow.
I got bumped up grades to play like with older kids during basketball. And so like that was I thought that was my calling at the time. Even though I got offers to play in college for basketball, I turned it down to run track.
Really?
Yeah. So I basically trained for track maybe 3 months out of the year. I literally stepped onto the track and like that was it.
So how did you go from being a 157 guy that never really trains to, being the walk-on or scrub or whatever at a Division I Power 5 program like the University of Minnesota to then becoming a 2-time All-American?
A lot of pain. I put myself through pain for 2+ years to get to the body I wanted.
Why is that?
Because track's hard, man. If you can't go through the pain and you can't keep a level head through all the ups and downs, you're not going to make it. And I love competing. Like it's just, I always say when I get into, which was part of the reason why I didn't go pro. Like when I step on the track, I'm there to win. Like I'm not there because like I absolutely love running. I love winning.
Really?
Yeah. And I knew that's what drove me. Crossing the finish line in first is one of the best feelings you can possibly have. And you don't get many, so you got to cherish every single one. So for about 2 years, my coach drilled me and was trying to make me a 400 runner. Again, like long legs, fast. You thought it would work out, but I just knew I was 800. And it was the same thing as high school, believe it or not.
Really?
It took me 1.5 years to finally run an 800.
Wow. So then what was that like? Was that tough?
1.5 years. 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 1. Yes.
Making it to college, thinking you made it, but then in reality, it's not what you wanted it to be?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it was kind of, it was a little bit annoying, but at the same time, like maybe I could be a good 400 runner. And I was good. I ran 47.5. So like it's good, but it's not great. Like I'm not making that next step to the low 46s and 45s. Like that wasn't going to happen for me. But moving up to the 800, I always knew that it was that thing. It was my calling. Like basically, I loved how the race filed into one lane. You're shoulder to shoulder with people, just like in distance running. Like it's way more of a dogfight than staying in your lane the whole time. Like I got a rush off that. I love when a guy tries to close on me and I can just elbow him out. Like that, I loved that about it.
That's that basketball in you right there.
Yeah, I didn't mind contact at all.
So where do you think that winning mentality came from for you?
Throughout my time, you could see a lot of, you know how like, there's a lot of kids that come into track and field and they don't even make it all 4 years. For me, I came in with about 12 kids in my recruiting class and only 2 of them made it to the 5th year. Me and my roommate.
Wow.
So you see a lot of people slowly discover their passion or fall out of love with track because it's just not like panning out for them. For me, I felt like more in love with my race, and I knew that was my thing. And you could see other people finding their things as well, even though it might have been outside of track. So for me to actually like get really passionate about one certain thing, I was very unique in that sense.
Like, what was your approach when you were on the starting line to push through all that pain so that you could achieve the goal that you set out for yourself?
I mean, it was so 800 specific for me. I always look at each race, even for the 400. I can't really speak to other events too much, but for the 800, I would say half of the race is 600 meters, right? The first half of the race is 600 meters. The last half of the race is 200.
Wow.
So you got to make it to 600, right? And you got to be feeling confident. You got to be feeling good. And you just got to realize for 200 meters, you're going to go through a lot of pain. But if you are the person that can go through the most pain and keep going, you will win.
Wow.
So that's how I looked at the race. I was like, I have to get to 600. And if the guy is the leader is next to me, like I'm not letting him go. I'm not letting go of the pain.
When you reflect back, what's your favorite memory?
The locker room, by far.
Really?
Just the people you meet along the way and people you hang out with. If it's
not the titles.
No.
I mean, you're a 2-time All-American.
Honestly, those are amazing, and I wouldn't give those up for anything. It's something I'm extremely proud of that I worked for, because I literally said my entire 5th year is to be an All-American. That's what I dedicated the year for. I was like, I'm not coming back for anything else besides to be an All-American.
So you weren't an All-American. You came back your 5th year and got 2?
Well, I was second team All-American.
Okay.
And I was like, I want to be first team. And I got second team. Again.
You're still 2-time All-American.
Yeah.
But it's the guys in the locker room?
Yes. My freshman year roommate, I'm going to be in his wedding this summer. So it's like,
wow,
the friendships and bonds that I've made throughout my time there is priceless. And that's going to last way further than my career, obviously, because my career is over.
I think that's kind of timely with Corona and everything that's happening right now.
Yeah.
Like, to me, I feel like so many athletes, particularly spring athletes, but also winter athletes who missed their championship. It's like, it was so heartbreaking at first, and I think it's because we think we're trying to do this. We're making all these sacrifices for the titles. But in reality, we take for granted every day the relationships we have with our teammates.
100%.
And not only that, but also just the ability to inspire people. And we really undermine and underplay that, our ability and capacity to do that. As soon as you finish your collegiate career as a track and field athlete, what was that transition period like?
Really difficult. I went my entire summer after I graduated without a job. I was kind of like, I would say I wouldn't say depressed lightly, but I wasn't really depressed. I just knew I was like not myself for probably 3 weeks to a month.
Yeah.
I just knew like I'm not myself right now, and I don't know why. And I was having quite a bit of identity crisis into who I was, because everybody knew me as an athlete. Like every time I'd go hang out with friends that weren't on my team, they'd be like, "Oh, this is Mitch. He runs track in Minnesota. He's the Big Ten champ." Like every time they'd introduce me, that's what they would introduce me as. Like not because I wanted it or anything, just because like that's the thing people knew about me.
So, how would it feel when people introduce you as an athlete?
Good, because of things
good,
I accomplished.
But why was it then? Was it because you weren't an athlete anymore? But
oh, you're saying when I was like,
yeah,
now
after
that
you
I'm
were
done,
done, after you were done, when people introduce you as an athlete,
kind of like a has-been. Like
really?
I didn't do anything more with it.
Wow, they said he was a Big 12 champ.
Yes, the was is always in there now.
Really?
It doesn't really hurt. I'm totally comfortable with it now. Like I'm totally past that stage in my life, and I'm so comfortable with talking about the past as like just happy times. Really excited about everything I did, and I have zero regrets in my college career. Zero.
As soon as you finish your collegiate career at Minnesota, you go through the identity crisis as Big 12 champ, two-time All-American, to a former athlete, to someone who was a Big 12 champ, to someone who was an All-American. Big 10. Sorry, I'm in the Pac-12. We don't know much about the Gophers out there.
I know nobody does.
But when you're going through the identity crisis, as many athletes do once their careers end, what do you think helped you the most through that? And what advice do you have for athletes now who are going through that, especially as so many athletes just had their careers yanked out from under them from an IG post?
Yeah. First thing, identity crisis is real.
What is it?
It's very real.
Like, how would you describe it?
Like, kind of like I said before, like there's just a hole in you and you don't know where it's from. You have no idea. You think you get done with your sport and you like obviously you're emotional when it's over, but you think you're going to get over it, and something just like never really gets repaired. And it just like you don't feel whole. You don't feel like you really have a purpose anymore. There was a hole in me, and I didn't know where the hole was coming from.
Yeah. Like,
was it my job? Was it my friends? Was it my girlfriend? Was it my family? Like, I had no idea. Yeah. It's like, there's just a hole in you. It's just it's really weird to go through. And I didn't think for a second it would happen to me. Not
really?
For 1 second. I thought like I was so confident in like where my life was going. And the one thing, I have one piece of advice that got me through this entire thing. Throughout my entire life, whether it was high school, college, or now, I have always succeeded, and it's always taken time. When I came in as a freshman in high school, I went from a guy who never ran track in his life to a state finalist. I went from somebody who was literally the last person recruited to the Minnesota team in that recruiting class to the best person in that recruiting class. I went from being in my life now to somebody who I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life to somebody who like runs their own business and makes money freelancing and have a job that I absolutely love. I just knew it's going to take time, but every year I will get better.
So the focus was always on getting better.
The focus is on always improving, no matter how small.
Why is that?
It adds up, man.
Really?
It adds up. The time and the hours add up.
What path were you on after you finished college?
A really weird one. I had a job at a manufacturer of industrial cleaning equipment.
Really?
Yeah, I was a product manager, and
sounds like a good gig.
It was a really good job.
Yeah.
I made great money out of college. But the job was for like if I had 5 kids and wanted to stack up my 401k and was going to retire in 10 years, you know?
Yeah.
Like
you didn't take that?
The safest job in the world.
Yeah.
And kind of like it's exactly like the 800 where
really?
I just knew there was something more. There was something more to this. And I just knew being this comfortable in this job wasn't the move for my happiness.
When did you make the pivot towards your happiness?
I had a really lucky person, my girlfriend, decided to move to Colorado, and I made the choice to come with her. And when I came with her, I didn't have a job for 3 months. I quit my job, moved out here with her, no job, and I was like, so I had been on this, like, I've been freelancing before, but I didn't really get any traction with it, so I gave up on it for a while, and I was like, maybe freelance isn't for me. And then my girlfriend Bailey, she goes, maybe you should try freelancing again and see where it goes this time. Your videos have gotten a lot better. I'm like, shoot, well, why not? Like, I have all this time on my hands now.
For
I'll figure it out.
videography.
Yeah. I was like, I have all this time on my hands now. I'll figure it out. And it blew up. It just, like, thank God for her giving me the relight, you know, to get back into it. And it took off from there.
Yeah. What were you doing to make it take off?
I also had a full-time job. So I was full-time jobbing and freelancing.
Wow.
My job was running social media and video stuff for this shopping center, which I wasn't really a fan of, which is why I continued. Yeah, the mall, which is my mall.
Yeah.
Which is why I was freelancing, because like that kept me happy, and that kept my purpose going.
The freelance
was always the thing that kept me going. If there's ever something that you have a passion for, and maybe it's not your 9 to 5 or whatever you're doing, you better be doing it outside of work. I'm telling you, you better be doing it. Like,
really,
either to not make money and just feel your happiness, or to actually make money to build it into something else.
To me, the biggest tragedy of college sport is how many athletes have the potential to do absolutely incredible and inspiring things outside of sport, but don't believe in themselves enough outside of their sport to pursue those things.
100%. And I think that I would say most of that falls on coaching.
Really?
I think the best coaches are not necessarily that'll push you in athletics, but they push you in life. Like, they make you believe in yourself. I remember my coach did one thing that always stuck with me, and it was a weird scenario. I was running in the Big Ten Finals my 5th year. I was against Isaiah Harris. Shout out to Isaiah Harris, because that dude is fast. He beat me every time. But I remember I was running against Isaiah Harris, and my coach comes up to me and looks me in the eye and says, "You can beat him." And I was like, yes, I can. I didn't beat him, but I knew that dude was like top 3 runner in the nation. I was like, if I can run with him, I can run with anybody. Like, I'm not afraid of anybody anymore. Like, you can step on that track, you can step on that field, and you can compete with anybody, and you have to believe it. And I believe that with myself. If I put in the time, I can compete with anybody.
So, to me, when athletes don't believe they can achieve something, and it's something I admire so much about you, and why I believe in you so much, is that you set high goals for yourself in this passion, videography, that you've only been doing for, what, a year and a half, 2 years now?
Yeah, I would say give or take.
2 years. And you went from doing it on the side when you weren't working at the mall to now doing it full time for a real estate firm.
Right.
And leading the video production for that firm, which is like such an incredible jump in and of itself in the short period of time that you've been doing it. And the content speaks for itself and how nice it is. And it's why this D1on1 episode is so beautifully filmed, is because we're using your equipment. But so shout out to you. But how did you discover videography?
It kind of discovered me. I got very lucky in the fact that, like, I would go on all these, like, it's kind of a typical videographer story, but maybe new to some other people, so I'll say it anyways. I would just go on a bunch of vacation with my friends, honestly. We'd go on tons of vacations, and I would always bring a camera. Always. Whether it was the very first GoPro that came out or every single one after that until I upgraded to DSLR and drones and whatever, I would always bring a camera, and I would always make a video. My first videos are like 45 minutes long, and they're just like a complete documentary of camping trips. And they're awesome. Like, they're horribly edited. Absolute horrible. but they're pretty funny, and it's like a great memory. But it sparked there, and every single video I made, I just got better. And until the point somebody saw one of my stupid travel videos, and they're like, "Wow, can you make one for our brand?" And I'm like, "Holy crap!" The game just changed.
You're like, you'll give me money to do this?
Yeah, I was like, what? I couldn't believe it. And it was, I remember it so perfectly because it went from when Instagram was 15 seconds to a minute. When Instagram went from 15 seconds to a minute video, like the game changed.
How old are you again?
26.
I'm joking.
You remember when Instagram was 15 seconds? Because I do.
No, dude, I'm a millennial.
You don't remember? Dude, Instagram didn't have video.
I'm joking.
And they came up 15 seconds, then went into a minute. And then all these companies started pouring money in. And I'm like, holy crap.
My guy, thank you so much for taking the time with me. Is there anything else you want to talk about? Any other messages or thoughts that are on your mind right now?
I would just encourage, people to really hop in that next phase of their life with an open mind and know that it's going to be okay and you're going to figure it out. There's a lot of people out there and stuff to help guide you and kind of keep you up if you get down. You'll find your way. I would say most of us didn't walk in day one freshman year and we're the best person on the team. Maybe there's a few cases out there. I know a couple Anthony Davises or Karl Anthony Towns, but most of us didn't walk on and we're the best person.
Yeah.
And you worked incredibly hard to either be the best person or accomplish what you accomplished. So do the same thing with life.